Good Thursday evening. How are you guys doing? It is I, Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver. How's everybody this evening? I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. I mean, I could, but who would listen? Welcome to the show. It's good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. Brodo the Bling Bearer, good to see you. Doom Sword, always good to see you. Have fun with the adventure. I guess it'll be up to good old Luther and I to be the rowdy ones tonight. Okay. I see Dungeon Minister's got to dip out. Well, we will see you next time, Dungeon Minister. And in the meanwhile, it's just little old me and little old you guys talking about some White Plume Mountain tonight. So we're going to do that tomorrow night. We're going to continue on our journey into Keraptis' little death trap in our Let's Read, Let's Deep Dive. But after that, we're going to play some first edition Gamma World. That's right. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, we just kick it right over again on Monday and start the whole thing over again. Except next week, starting next week, Kyle will be out for a couple of weeks. My co-host, Kyle Schuant, who's usually here on Wednesdays, is on special assignment. Namely, his kids have a school holiday, so he won't be here. But we don't begrudge him that. We are very pro-dad around these parts. So we will see him round the way next time. But anyway, so if you're... Praxis is ready for us too. Robert Phillips has his graph paper ready. That's awesome. Well, if you're new to the channel, whether you were driven here by the algorithm, you stumbled into this place by YouTube or whatever, welcome. Thank you. We have a lot of fun here. And if you are new here, please consider clicking that subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications. If you like what you see during the course of the night, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. But do leave a comment and let us know what we could be doing better around these parts. Now, if you happen to be in the Orlando area, and I know some of you are, which surprises me. I've actually got a lot of show viewers, fans. So if you're in this neck of the wood this coming Saturday, I will be at Gods and Monsters running AD&D, and then later in the evening, Tales from the Loop, which has got kind of a Stranger Things meets X-Files meets Cyberpunk vibe. It's a very cool game. So that's what will be happening on Free RPG Day down at Gods and Monsters. If you want to come in and get in one of those games, I would recommend pinging me over on Facebook. You can find me over on FaceSpace, even though we're not directly streaming video over there and won't until they explain themselves to me. So yeah, I've got that going on. And then in August, which is actually not that far away, but August 20th at QuestCon Orlando, I will be giving a panel just in case you can't get enough of me and want a live in-person experience. I will be at QuestCon Orlando giving a panel. Doomsword asks, is that some kind of Torg box set on my shelf? Torg. Come out, Torg. Yes. That is a Torg box set it was in a box of stuff that I got from a friend who unfortunately is no longer with us. It looks like the Dungeon Minister and the chick on the Ozzy Osbourne Ultimate Sin album cover together on the cover of the Torg box set. But yes, this apparently comes in boxes. There are cards. There's their Infiniverse newsletter is in here and some additional stuff. I've never played it. I've never played Torg. So I don't know if it's any good. So we'll just put that back. Maybe we can do a deep dive on it one day. Perhaps we can. So that's a thing. See, none of this stuff is just props. I don't just put this stuff up here because, hey, I think that might look good. Like I watched some crazy tech YouTuber. I can't even remember who it was now. But I got all excited. This has been a few years ago because he did his show. I could physically describe the guy to you. He had an Abraham Lincoln beard, a turtleneck, and a black sports coat. And like he talked about tech stuff, but then he also talked about conspiracy theory stuff. And I think he's working on like a retro 8-bit chiptune album. Gosh, I wish I could remember him. Was it Tech Syndicate? I think maybe Tech Syndicate. I don't know. But anyway, I got excited because he had kind of a setup like this going on. It was, I will say this, it was much better looking. Like this hardwood standing counter thing, very professional looking, very nice looking. And on the shelf behind him, very clearly in view, was a little shelf of role-playing game materials. And there was like a copy of Osric. And I was like, crap, my name's in that. And as I've said before, I am not trying to claim fame to Osric. Like, yes, I wrote Osric. A very tiny, tiny contribution. But I reached out to them and was I streaming at this point? I was definitely making YouTube videos and I can't even remember what I had asked them about, but just nothing. The next time they did a show is that they had like a weekly or bi-weekly show or something like that. Like it was Lego sets or computer parts or something, but it never rotated backgrounds. It was clearly just a prop. It was clearly just a prop. Yes, Zig fighters. For great justice, take off every Zig. And I think I've told you guys about my online knowing slightly, I wouldn't really say friendship, acquaintanceship with Jimbo Ray Robinson, JRR, the guy who created All Your Base Are Belong to Us. Somebody did the Flash animation after he did the music, but that's a sad story, and I don't really want to tell it. I mean, my getting to know him wasn't sad, but his story is sad. So let's move on. Let's talk about things that aren't sad. And let's hop straight in to some White Plume Mountain. Shall we? Yes, we shall. Let's talk to the nice people about White Plume Mountain. So let me pull the PDF up here. Unless you guys have got something else you wanted to talk about. I mean, I certainly, I don't want to be a stick in the mud. So let's see. Let me open. And then Plume Mountain. And I'll get to where we are. Inverted ziggurats for some, glass walls for other, tiny Greyhawk flags for everyone. Oh, Dungeon Minister, you missed it. We invoked you. I have this role-playing game over here that the guys are asking me about, Torg. You're on the cover of it with the lady that's on the cover of the Ozzy Osbourne album, The Ultimate Sin. All right. Thank you for asking, Dungeon Minister. We're just kind of day to day. I mean, she feels well enough to telework and stuff like that. And she's not going to be doing any Iron Man competitions anytime soon. But it's just like, You know, I gotta like talk to her. We have to have like a serious meeting about what dinner is going to be. Because could you handle something with onion? Because this recipe calls for a little onion powder. Well, I don't know how much onion powder. Well, and I'm having yellow rice. Well, is it pollo con riz? Because there's saffron in that. I don't know if saffron will irritate me. So it's just one step at a time. It is just one step at a time. Does it have a dragon with Ozzy's head? It doesn't, Brodo. Unfortunately, it does not. That is Boris Vallejo's artwork, by the way. The Ultimate Sin album cover is the great Boris Vallejo. I have curated, because there's a Boris Vallejo fan page on Facebook, and I just used an image downloader thing to download every image. I have curated quite the collection of Boris Vallejo images, most of which I can't share with you guys for obvious reasons. Okay, White Plume Mountain. White Plume Mountain. Share screen. Share screen. Share screen. Thank you, Tunka. I will pass it on. So here we are in White Plume Mountain by Law Schick, an adventure for character levels 5 to 10. Now, let me say this. Let me just jump back a little where it says for levels 5 to 10. 10th level characters, if you've only got like 3 or 4 people playing, I would not send a large party above 7th level into this module. I just wouldn't. There's a lot of stuff that could spoil it for them. There's a lot of stuff that you can do magic-wise that could spoil parts of this module. So let's get back into it. Now, last time we had gone into the room of the disco balls. This one right here. God, I love this piece by Jim Rosloff. I so wish Mr. Rosloff were still with us. I mean, he would be like a guy who would just be like, okay, you're going to be on my show on a week-to-week basis because I love your artwork. Just everything about this piece is awesome. Everything about this piece is awesome. There's literally nothing in this piece that I don't love. And in fact, Jim Rosloff's artwork arguably is what pulled me in to D&D as a visual experience. His artwork graces the cover of Keep on the Borderlands, adventurers fighting hobgoblins out in the wilderness somewhere. There's something about it that's so, I can't even explain how good that image is. Hail Unbreaded, Michael. So Jim gives us the image from the sphere room. So we're going to move on from that because we have smashed all the globes. We have fought the folded up shadows, the gray ooze. We have figured out the fake ring. Now, one thing it says about this, a good hard crack with a weapon will shatter any of them, dropping the contents if not caught into the muck below. The muck is only maybe a few feet deep, and one thing I found from playing this module, running this module, both as a corporate event through my company, Guide Key. Just going to link that real quick in the chat. Or just running it for friends, players will take the time to filter through the muck. So you as a dungeon master need to either decide, you need to either state that it's magic muck, and if stuff falls into it, it vanishes forever, or be patient with your players who want to spend enough time. I got a potion of treasure finding. I've got locate object. My sword can detect metals and what kind. Whatever. Players will search for the stuff that drops. Just keep rolling wandering monster attacks and don't feel bad about duplicating them over and over. We just got attacked by 8 bugbears. Yeah, well, here's 8 more. Keraptis wants you to keep moving. And if the players can do the time, let them do the crime. Or the grime, in this case. Am I right? I am. So that's the sphere room. But there's not a minor death in any of the balls. So don't sphere the Reaper. Yes, I said that and I'm proud of it. Now, another fun trap. I mean, I'm not going to say another fun trap because almost every trap in here is fun. Every puzzle is fun. This one has led to some really, really wacky stuff when I have run this module and when I played this module. And it is what I call the God mode golem. In this room are 5 flesh golems lined up against the north wall. Each has a number on its chest, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. Number 5 says, one of us does not belong with the others. If you can pick it out, it will serve you and the others will allow you passage. If you pick the wrong one, we will kill you. You have 60 seconds. Just like in S1, it's incumbent on the dungeon master to count to 60. Do it aloud. Make the players sweat. 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. One of us does not belong. If you can pick it out, it will serve you and the others will allow you passage. If you pick the wrong one, we will kill you. You have 60 seconds. 59, 58, 57. Don't shake your head when they pick the wrong one. Don't stop to say, that's not right. Count in real time. 9 is not a prime number. That is the one. It is golem number 9. Could you put a trash monster in, like what was in Star Wars in the monk? You could, but the monk in there is only like a foot deep. That is correct, Paul. Paul, I think, Paul, did you play White Plume Mountain in the Monday night campaign? Were you here for that? Because I honestly don't remember. I know most of the group was, but I don't know if you joined us during White Plume Mountain. So 9 is not a prime number. Give your players an actual 60 seconds to figure it out. And then it lists the golems: armor class 9, move 8, 30 hit points, number of attacks 2, damage 2 to 16. Special damage can only be hit by magic weapons. Unlike typical flesh golems, these take full damage from magical fire or cold attacks. Saving throws are applicable. Okay. Because I knew Josh did, but I could not remember if you were. It was a while ago. You'll have to forgive my old man brain. Electrical attacks restore 1 hit point of damage to the golems for each die of attack, i.e. a 6-die lightning bolt will cure a golem of 6 points of damage. Now, good evening, Vincent. Here's the thing about the golem. And we're going to look in the monster manual real quick under golems. If your players know the following information about golems, or even if they don't, this guy is the IDDQD for this module. Almost. So let's see. Let's scroll up. So there's a credit, etc., etc. Normal weapons do not harm flesh golems. Magical weapons have normal effect. Spells of most sorts have no effect on such monsters. Fire, cold, slow them by 50%. They're slightly different there. Electrical, restore damage. Spells don't affect them. They're not per se alive. They're constructs. And we're going to see what that means. So if you don't get 9, there's 5 of these golems in here, 5 flesh golems that can't be hurt by normal weapons. This could very easily be a TPK, and I've heard of DMs say, hey, yeah, they got to the golem room and it was a TPK. Total party kill. So that may happen to you. But if you get him to go with you, you've got a really powerful thing, as we'll see. There's a subway turnstile. I love it right there. Dave Sutherland art. This magnificent Errol Otis half-page plate here. The party coming out. I hate as a dungeon master, I hate these discs. But I have killed so many characters in the muck room. The nice thing about this is Area 6, once you get past the turnstile, if you have the golem with you and you put him on watch, the party can rest up and heal up here a little bit. Say it like Dracula. All right, so we have this stone platform, and I'm going to show you guys on the map what we're dealing with. But first, I'm going to read you this. The door opens onto a stone platform in a large natural cave. The ceiling averages 50 feet above the level of the platform, while the floor of the cave, 50 feet below, is a deep pool of boiling mud. Points A and B mark the location of geysers. Geyser A spouts once every 5 minutes. Geyser B spouts once every 3 minutes. Opposite the entrance platform is another stone platform, approximately 90 feet away. Between them, a series of wooden discs is suspended from the ceiling by massive steel chains. The discs are about 4 feet in diameter and 3 feet apart. Each disc is attached to its chain by a giant staple fixed in its center. The discs swing freely and will tilt when weight is placed upon them. The discs and chains, as well as the walls of the cavern, are covered with a wet, slippery algal scum that lives on the water and nutrients spewed up from the geysers. The coating gives off a feeble phosphorescent glow. When the geysers erupt, they reach nearly to the roof of the cavern, and creatures holding onto the discs or chains may be washed off to fall into the mud below, an almost instant death. Characters with 18 strength or better have a 65% chance of holding onto the disc that is adjacent to an erupting geyser. For each strength point less than 18, there is a 10% chance of hanging onto the disc. 16 strength equals 45% chance. However, for each disc the character is located farther from the geyser, there's a cumulative chance of 5% greater of holding on. i.e. one farther away equals 5%, 2 away equals 10%. Damage varies as to the distance from the geyser. Adjacent, 5 to 50, 1 away, 4 to 40, and so on. 3 to 30, 2 to 20, 1 to 10, 1 to 6, and 1 to 4 for anyone in the cavern. Characters who make their saving throw versus breath weapon will only take 1/2 damage. So what we have, and let's look at the map. This is very onerous to run as a DM, but you guys should definitely do it. Is right here. It kind of looks like North and South Korea. So the party comes in here in the north, and they have to cross these discs. Now, personally, I think the discs are a ruse. I think the better bet is for a party to back up to the dry hallway up here. And if they have any kind of flying or levitation spells, to use those, to memorize those. Just camp out here. Put a guard over here. Do a silence 15-foot radius here to plug the hallway. So your magic users don't have the disturbing sounds of a fight going on. And then fly or levitate, however you're going to do it, over to the far end. Because honestly, trying to hop from disc to disc is just a way to unalive yourself on purpose. But if you do it, Dungeon Masters, if your players want to go disc to disc, you got to be ready for it. You got to be ready for what they're going to do. So read that carefully. And I've had some players come up with some pretty clever solutions like, hey, can we use Ice Storm to make an ice bridge? Can we, what about stone shape? What about warp wood to join the discs together so that we get like 3 stable, and then we step onto the next one. We do it again to get 3 and so on and etc. So there are many ways across here. Don't block your characters or your players from coming up with clever solutions, but at the same time, don't make this a gimme. It should be blasting hot mud at them. See right there, Tunga, that is an exact solution that I had players come up with once. What if one person flies and takes a lead rope for others to use to cross? Absolutely. There's more than one way to skin this trap. It can be a little distracting, and I wish Al Hammock could put in there the characters may wish to try methods of flying and so on and etc. But do keep your timing right on the geyser blasts, and do keep peppering them with hot mud. So let's go back up. So the characters, our party has gotten across, and they've got this hallway, narrow hallway. So what is lurking? What is waiting for us in room 8? Some Jeff D shadows, and this guy who looks like Sark from Tron hanging out in the background there. What's going on? The lair of the vampire Tenmir. Armor class 1, hit points 40. See monster manual. He is compelled by a curse to remain here in a trance except when defending the treasure which lies in a niche in the floor under his coffin. He automatically awakes at the approach of intruders. The door to the room is permeated with tiny holes through which he can pass in gaseous form. The room has a permanent darkness spell on it, which the vampire is unaffected by, i.e. he can see perfectly well. Destroying his coffin won't bother him as Keraptis has spares hidden away. And then, of course, that's where Whelm is. And what is Whelm? Greetings, Imperial Ramblings. Welcome, welcome. Whelm is a lawful neutral hammer +3. +5 for dwarves. Intelligence 15, ego 18, purpose, kill all trolls, giants, and goblin types, including bugbears and hobgoblins. It can be thrown and will return up to 150 feet thrice per day. It also acts as a hammer of stunning. Once per day when struck on the ground, it will send forth a shock wave of up to 45 hit points, stunning up to 45 hit points of enemies, up to a distance of 60 feet for 1 to 4 rounds if they sail versus spells. Whelm detects gold gems in the presence of goblins. A drawback is the bearer of this weapon will come under the influence of a severe case of agoraphobia, a fear of wide open spaces, and will fight at -2 when not in a building, at night, or best of all, underground. Whelm is obviously a dwarvish weapon. And then there's some treasure in there. Potion of ESP, Black Dragon Control, 3 scrolls, 10,000 silver, 9,000 gold. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, Damien. So that's where you get your first one in. All you have to do is fight a vampire and probably lose some levels in the process. It's actually not that bad of a fight, and I have had parties use Dispel Magic and Continual Light to get rid of the darkness. So, Luther Pendragon, greetings. So there is the first artifact. Now, someone had asked early on during our deep dive here about characters draining the dungeon. Now, an area that they can potentially go to before this, because remember, it's basically 3 branches, if you will. One due north, one that goes to the northeast and then hooks around a little south, and one that goes to the northwest. Jehovah, greetings. Do you think level loss was the reason why a vamp is the first boss? Maybe, Tonka. But anyway, 9, a 10-foot deep pool. At the bottom is a very stiff valve wheel. When turned by 2 18 strength characters or the equivalent for strength 9 characters. A tube will open which will drain out all of the water in the wet corridors in 10 turns. Also at the bottom of the pit is a secret door, which can be found only by Detect Magic, that leads to Keraptis Indoctrination Center. So there is a way, potentially. Don't give this away. Don't give this away to your party. We'll look at the map for Area 9 here. Right here, this little guy right here. So there is a way to drain the dungeon of its water. Now, one thing that I won't do, if you look over here, here's a narrow, long pit. Even if the party finds the valve, I don't have that drain. That is still a water-filled pit. So your party potentially can find the drain for the foot-deep flooded dungeon, and it certainly does not drain Area 10, which we'll get to in just a minute. Potentially they can. Strangely, I'm about 50-50 on parties that have found it and used it versus parties that haven't found it. You're already dead, so no big deal. All right. So let's look at Area 10 and what Area 10 contains. Isn't this a fun module? Don't you just want to run into this and adventure in it? This appears to be another normal water-covered room with steps rising out of the muck on the far side, but actually most of it is a 15-foot deep pool. The area with the dotted lines labeled A are the only shallow 1-foot deep parts. The deep area marked B is inhabited by 2 kelpies. See information at the end of the module. As the party rounds the room, the kelpies will rise to the surface and attempt to charm a male character as explained in the section describing these monsters. Area C is the kelpies underwater lair, accessible only from beneath the surface of the pool. Scattered about are 600 gold, a piece of jewelry worth 2,000, and a suit of chainmail +3. D is an empty room, a decoy, which is level with the area marked A. So, what about those kelpies? And I have had a couple of female adventurers go in there and just be like, because male adventurers have willingly dived into their doom. So let's talk about the kelpies. So here's the kelpies as illustrated by Errol Otis. And yes, I'm going to scroll down. Otherwise, we will get booted right off. 6-foot hookah or black razor. So they're neutral evil. Armor class 3, 5 hit dice. Dragon Strike. I'm not familiar with Dragon Strike. I'll take your word for that, Damien. Kelpies are a form of intelligent aquatic plant life in their own shape. Rather resemble a pile of wet seaweed. They are able to shape their bodies in any form they choose, and they will often assume the aspect of a beautiful human woman in order to lure men into deep water. However, though the form may be changed, the substance will still resemble green seaweed, and the effect is somewhat grotesque. I guess if you're into body horror, it's probably right up your alley. Yeah, I mean, Tonka Todd saying they're super creepy monsters if you use the OG Celtic folklore. I think this kind of hews close to that. They're copyright symbols. Anyway, to counter this, the Kelpie can throw one powerful charm spell per day. If the Kelpie target does not save versus spells at -2, he will perceive the Kelpie as the most wonderful, perfect, and desirable woman and will willingly leap into the water to join her. The Kelpie will wrap itself around the charmed man, and he will attempt to inhale water and sink with the Kelpie in an ecstasy of drowning. If left alone, he will happily drown and be dragged off to the Kelpie's lair to be consumed. Now, what if your character has a ring of water breathing? He's just hanging out with his sexy plant girlfriend at that point. There's a Facebook group about people that dig that. Anyway, even if the Kelpie cannot physically reach the charmed man, he will still try to swim downwards and breathe water. If the charming Kelpie is killed, the spell is immediately broken. Charmed persons attempting to drown themselves will suffer 2 to 20 hit points of damage per round until they either surface for air or perish. For some reason, females are immune to the spell of the Kelpie. Legend has it that this is so because Kelpies were created by the sea god as punishment for those men rash enough to sail the oceans without paying their lord his proper respect. Women were not involved in these transgressions and thus did not incur the sea lord's ill will. Of course, we're talking about Triton from Greek legend there. Besides the oceans and the seas, Kelpies will also be found in dismal swamps and stagnant subterranean grottos, and can reportedly be occasionally found in almost any body of deep water. They can leave the water to walk on land for short periods of time. Due to their slimy wetness, fire attacks do only half damage or none if saving throw is made. They're cunning and will try to pick off stragglers, lone watchmen, or tail end members of groups if at all possible. Thus proving the point, nobody ever made friends with salad. Let us move on. See what I did there? Let us move on. All right. Area 9. Area 11. And this is where we put the fun into Funhouse Dungeon. Area 11. This is a 30-foot long spinning cylinder apparently made of some light metal. It is 10 feet in diameter and spins counterclockwise at about 8 miles an hour. The entire inner surface is covered with slippery oil and painted with a dizzying black and white spiral pattern. It is possible to slide through the cylinder, but no one could walk through it and keep his or her feet. So you literally have one of those spinning things that you can't stand on. I was in, St. Augustine. I was in St. Augustine, went to the Ripley Museum. They have one that like you're on a steady platform. You don't slide through the thing, but the tube rotates around you and it is, I couldn't, that messed with me. That was a lot of fun. Okay, so we have this tube. Characters can slide through it. They can't walk through it. So they're slipping and sliding. And then Area 12 watching it. Now we've got something about to happen. Watching through the loophole of the end of the passage is an alert guard, Burkett, armor class 4, 4th level fighter, 18 hit points, +1 to hit, +3 to damage. Not that tough of a guy. If he sees intruders approaching, he will wait until they are halfway through the spinning cylinder and then ignite the slippery oil with a flaming arrow. Damage 2 to 16 on the first round to any caught within, 1 to 4 in subsequent rounds until it burns out in 2 to 8 rounds. Just burn them all. He will then warn his lover, the sorceress Snarla. What a lovely name. This is my wife, Snarla. Close and lock the shutter over the loophole and move to defend the door with sword and shield. The room contains only a couple of benches and a table, upon which are Snarla's spellbook and a large candlestick. The book contains only those spells which she has memorized, mentioned hereafter, but is protected by an explosive rune spell. Snarla, armor class 10, 7th level magic user, 17 hit points, is a lycanthrope. Now, here's a good question for you, fellow DMs. Would you allow a lycanthrope to retain their previous class as long as it's not alignment dependent? And then she's got some spells: Fear, Haste, Dispel Magic, Web, Stinking Cloud, Scare, Magic Missile, Push, and Shield. If Burkett is killed or she is caught in a very bad situation, she will change into a werewolf form and attack with desperate savagery. You guys talking about Morgan Ironwolf. This is Snarla Werewolf. If captured alive and made to talk, she tells the party only that she is charged with keeping the Kelpies and certain other denizens of the dungeon fed. There are strange gaps in her memory in the areas of dealing with her employer or any section of the dungeon other than her own. She has never been past the doors at 14. Burkett knows even less than she does. So here's the thing where I've had players actually come to a moral quandary. You know, should they try hold monster on her and take her out to get her cured? Just slay her out of hand? What to do with Snarla and Burkett if they take them alive? And then a little bit of trickery from Keraptis comes here. Her inner sanctum is a beautifully ornate room, rugs, tapestries, all that jazz. A buffet of sweetmeats, cakes, and other delicious looking comestibles. There's a brass bound oak chest. Oh, yeah, that's a good comparison, Luther. The witch and Conan the Barbarian, yeah. Except she's not going to be humping any of the characters. She's probably just going to be begging for her life unless she can see that Burkett is dead if the party has in fact slain him. The bed is actually uncomfortable. The food is just tough and not very tasty. True seeing or detect illusion will reveal that the opulent bed is actually only an old straw tick, and the delicious treats are something very much like iron rations. The room is quite bare. Dispel magic or dispel illusion removes it and just reveals it to be basically a prison cell. And then we have a stinking cloud trap here. 7 gems worth 1,300 total, 400 electrum, 300 gold. Now, it's hard to pick a single trap out of this dungeon or encounter, I should say encounter, out of this dungeon. More lovely Jim Rosseloff work. And it's that same group that was in the Sphere room. Yes, I have a crush on the female magic user in the middle, sue me. But Area 14, you guys know what this is, right? I got a little prop for this. This is a succession of thick metal doors flanged so that they overlap the door jamb on the north side and can thus only be opened by swinging them to the north. There are handles on the north sides of the doors so that they can be pulled open in that direction. These doors are actually emergency doors whose purpose is to prevent the dungeon from being flooded by the boiling lake at 15 should there happen to be an accident. Ma'am? 15. The boiling lake is several hundred feet deep, extending down to the red-hot rock below and reaching nearly to the center, reaching nearly to the ceiling of the cavern it occupies. 50 feet above the level of the sunken ledge described in 17. It is fed by an underground stream which enters at point A at a depth of 100 feet below that of the ledge. Its runoff is at point B above the ledge near the ceiling of the cavern. 16. The runoff from the boiling lake cascades down through a series of near vertical lava tubes at the base of the blowhole, 800 feet below the level of the dungeon. There, the water strikes molten rock and is instantly converted to steam. It is ejected up from the blowhole and out the top of the volcanic cone, forming the continuous geyser of White Plume Mountain. But now we come to it. One of the best and most diabolical parts of this entire dungeon. The beast in the boiling bubble. A sunken stone ledge projects out into the boiling lake. The corridor from the dungeon continues out into the lake under a rubbery magical force field that keeps out the waters by forming a sort of elastic skin of super surface tension. The shape of the corridor is not square in cross-section, but rather semicircular, as if a series of hoops were supporting the ceiling. The skin is soft, resilient, and uncomfortably warm to the touch. Under any pressure, it immediately becomes taut, and any character unwise enough to puncture it with something sharp will leave a permanent hole. A stream of scalding water will rush into the corridor, hopefully burning the idiot that made the hole. I have not, but I think people that want to build out the Rift Canyon part of Greyhawk really should use that and take it as Greyhawk Canyon. So basically, it's a magical surface tension force field, but it can be punctured. Why is that relevant? Let's read on. After 30 feet, the corridor widens out into a low dome-shaped area. Here lives the guardian of the treasure, just about the biggest giant crab, and there are its stats anyone's ever seen. On one of the forearms, it wears a rune-covered copper band that protects it from all psionic-related spells, such as charm, fear, confusion, paralysis, magic jar, etc. It also protects against all psionics. Unfortunately, it is worthless as treasure, as the magic is keyed specifically to that particular monster. It'll attack intelligently, and any and all intruders, being careful not... it will intelligently attack any and all intruders, being careful not to bump the water skin walls. The crab is experienced in fighting in this manner, as is evidenced by the bones scattered about, but your player's characters are not. The DM will have to watch for characters whose actions may rip the water skin, especially any foolish enough to use two-handed weapons or violent spells like Fireball or Lightning Bolt. Such people are likely to get the whole party boiled. Now, I gotta hand it to players that I've run through this module. Nobody has ever accidentally burst the chamber. They've used magic missile and just toughened up and fought it at point blank range with long swords and so on, but not spears, not bows, nothing like that. And then there's the chest with wave in it. Neutral trident +3. Now note the alignments of these. Any character of any alignment so far could be using whelm or wave because they're neutral, and neutral intelligent weapons don't, whether it's neutral good, lawful neutral, chaotic neutral, as long as a character's alignment axis is generally along with what it is, like a chaotic good can, or a chaotic evil, or obviously a chaotic neutral, could handle a chaotic neutral sword. Wave is pretty badass. A trident of fish commanding, a trident of warning, confers water breathing and underwater actions on the bearer. Cube of force ability as a miscellaneous magic item in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Speech and telepathy dehydrates. I had players loving this. On a nat 20, in addition to the normal damage, it dehydrates its opponent, draining 1/2 his or her remaining hit points. Compute normal damage first. Ow. Gives me cotton mouth just to think about. And then we have a lot of loot in sacks. 1,000 GP in small bags, 20 gems, 3 big ones worth a couple are worth 1,000 each and 5,000, and 17 others worth 3,935 gold piece total. A ring of infravision, a luck stone, and a wand of frost with 17 charges, which is kind of an important gadget to lay your hands on, as we'll see later on. The DM will note that a character grabbing Wave while the water skin is collapsing should be able to save his own and others' lives by invoking the Cube of Force ability. Wave will instantly make the holder aware of the ability if the holder is neutral or willing to convert on the spot. Characters inside the Cube of Force will probably end up being blown out the geyser at the top of the mountain. The air-filled cube will float, drain down the cascade, and be ejected from the plume. A rocky ride. Characters could also survive with a combination of fire resistance and water breathing. So the giant crib. Let's see. Can we get a picture of the crib? There he is. Beautiful piece by Errol Otis. I love it. There's the copper band on his arm. You want it? Won't highlight it for me, but you guys can see it there. Now, when I first ran this module, I didn't have a 3D printer at the time. But I really wanted a giant crab miniature to stick out on the table for the players. Because I'd run it before and just said, this round, oversized base is about the size of the crab. Very disappointing. But then I checked on Amazon one day, and for just a few dollars, I got this. It's already painted. It looks awesome. And I just set it out on the table. And I said, that's what you see. And the players were like, wow, is it really that big compared to us? Yes. Yes, it is. So if you want to run White Plume Mountain and you really want that to be a memorable fight, go to Amazon, start searching for plastic crabs, and get yourself one of those. Crab Rangoon in the spinning hallway grease. Tunkatot is scary. Dun, 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 dun. Ah! So yes, that is the giant crab. I have this for a reason. This is a miniature. This is a gaming miniature. I did try and bend his legs so he'd like actually stand up on them and be, but they wouldn't stay bent, and I didn't want to damage him by putting him in hot water. So I have one. I'm very happy. So let's go back to it. Luther says, advertisement for the module: face women who turn into beasts and attacks you, and deal with crabs. A bad weekend for any guy. You gotta love it. All right. Whoa. Why am I... Why am I oh, because I sorry. I forgot about that. I'm not sharing a document. I'm sharing the monitor over there, so anything that's over there, I was like, why am I getting a double image? Okay. So there's your giant crab encounter. Coming up to the bottom of the hour, so we're probably going to wrap soon-ish. But another great room. Oh, wait. I've scrolled down too far. So that's how to get wave. You beat Setenmere, or Kettenmere, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. You get Whelm. You beat the crab, you get wave. Well, where to next? And let me show you on the map where we've been so far. As we fought the crab in here, and there's all the lava tubes and whatnot. And your party's not going to go in there, but it was nice of them to include it. And there's the other side. There's where you can get blown out the top of the volcano, and etc. Here you flanged doors. If you accidentally pop and that fills with water, those will slam shut till Keraptis can come and set things to right. So here's the water-filled pit that I said I would not drain with the rest of the dungeon. Right here at 18. But it is fun if the characters haven't drained the dungeon to see them bloop down into that. It's not particularly dangerous. It's just there. Now comes a magical mechanical trap that is just, it's mean. It's just so mean. And it's it is this hallway, area 19. But it also slows the module up quite a bit. It is the left-hand side of the map equivalent of the geyser area. But if you get the Wand of Frost from the giant crab, it can be a snap. Let's read. Area 19. A series of copper-colored metal plates line the walls of this corridor. The plates are 6 feet high and 6 feet wide and cannot be damaged or removed. They set up an induction field which causes metal objects passing between them to become heated. The field extends from floor to ceiling and cannot be ducked under. Metal will become uncomfortably warm after moving 20 feet into the field, painfully hot after 30, and hot enough to damage at 40 feet and beyond. This includes armor, weapons, treasure, gold teeth, even magic user's dagger. A man in metal armor passing through points at 40 feet passing through this quarter would take damage as follows: 1 to 8 points at 40 feet, 2 to 16 at 50, 3 to 30 at 60, and 4 to 40 at 70. Characters not carrying metal will feel only slight discomfort when passing between the plates. Metal carried in wrappings of cloth will burn through the mark by 50 feet, and it will similarly burn through leather by 60 feet. Those protected by fire resistance will take no damage if they save versus spells, or half damage if they fail. Fighters and clerics may have no other recourse than to take a full turn to remove their armor, drag, push, or use a tensor's floating disc to get their armor and weapons through the corridor, and then take another full turn to suit up. Armor pulled through the corridor by ropes will probably heat up enough to burn through them at about 60 feet, leaving a pile of hot metal laying in the water, assuming that your party hasn't drained. The only sovereign remedies for this dilemma are the Cone of Cold or Ice Storm spells, which will nullify the effect long enough for a party to dash through. Why you get the Wand of Frost from the giant crab? And then we have an even nastier trap right next to it. Behind the secret door, 8 ghouls wait in ambush for an unarmed company to come through the heat induction corridor. And then, standard of all stuff. plus paralysis. These ghouls wear amulets which protect them from being ordered away by clerics or paladins, so they can't be turned. This is nasty. And then we have stairs leading up to a dry corridor. So if your party figures to use the Wand of Frost, they chill the hallway enough that they can dash through it, they can deal with the ghouls. Potentially, but there are 8 of them. And only elves are immune to the paralysis. Well, I mean, everybody can make a saving throw versus paralysis. All right, we're going to wrap up at the frictionless room, I think. Because this is where God mode through the golem can kick in. I used it when I ran the module, and the DM was cool with it, but... So stairs leading up to dry corridors. And just remember, guys, you need to be rolling every turn a 1 in 12 chance of one of Keraptis' patrols finding the party. Wights, bugbears. What was it? Yeah, a black pudding, bugbears, gargoyles, an invisible stalker, ogres, or wights. Okay. The frictionless room. The strips labeled A are 5-foot wide open pits. They are 10 feet deep, and the bottoms are lined with rusty razor-like blades. Anyone falling in will take 1 to 12 hit points of damage and will contract instant super tetanus and die in 2 to 5 rounds unless they save versus poison. Cure disease will destroy the infection. The wall, ceilings, and floor of Area B are covered with a substance that is 100% frictionless. The substance extends to cover the ceiling and walls around the razor pits. Anything that alights on this silvery surface will move in the direction of its last horizontal impetus, bouncing off the walls if it strikes them like a billiard ball until it slides into a razor pit. It is impossible to stand on the surface, even for a heartbeat. Even a heartbeat would unbalance the stander long enough to send his feet out from under him. The slip stuff will be totally unaffected by any force, magical or otherwise. It is completely inert. Fly, levitate, jump, dimension door, blink, teleport don't work. And then there's an illusory wall at the end. So if a party is looking to, I don't know, go over and drive a stake through or whatever, there's more wall after. Objects hitting this wall will pass through and apparently disappear. This tends to foil schemes for attaching ropes to the west wall from afar. The trick here is to get a rope strung through this room and fastened securely at both ends. Once this is done, a party can pull themselves across regardless of the surface. A clever party may even come up with other methods. Ingenuity is required. You want to know what our ingenuity was? And I'll wrap this up here for the evening. When I played this module as a player, we sent the golem in first. Golems are immune to poison. We sent the golem in first. He can only be damaged by normal weapons. He slid into the pit. We had characters carefully align themselves to where he went into the pit, told him to stand by to catch the person, and gently slid them. And then we repeated that. And one by one, we slid across with good old number 9, catching each player, not taking any damage. That's how we beat that room. I was pretty proud of it, actually. So I have something very cool I want to show you guys the next time we do a deep dive on this module. It's something that I am very, very, very proud of. Tonka, you're right. This is a very awesome adventure. I like it quite a lot. You know what else is awesome? You know what else is awesome? It's these folks. These folks help literally keep the lights on around here and a roof over our heads. So we want to say thanks to our patrons and our subscribers. So thank you, Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru, Mobius, Kevin Reynolds, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damien247, James F. Keck, William Smith, the Dungeon Minister, Manny Wall, Mark Corey, Kevin Wood, who I'm actually gaming with a little later tonight, Todd Sharp, Carnivore Farmer, Rob Knows I Can't Say That, Gillis, Jeremy Rule, Boganora, Mikey Mank, Sky Hernstrom, Pete Sullivan, and John David. Thank you all very much for helping out around here. I do appreciate it. I do greatly appreciate it. And of course, if you're out there, if you're new to the channel and you want to participate in that way, we have a Patreon and we have Subscribestar. Of course, just clicking subscribe, just hanging out and having a good time with us is actually plenty okay. Thank you, Praxis. So tomorrow night, Friday, assuming I'm not completely freaking out about free RPG Day at Gods and Monsters, because I'm totally prepared for it, guys. Anyway, we are going to read more of this module, and I have a special surprise for you guys to show you. Again, it's something I'm very proud of. And then we'll we might even wrap up with this module tomorrow. We'll have to see. We'll have to see, because there's the mid-air stream room and all of its weirdness and stories about players dealing with that. But yeah, we've got a pretty cool thing to look at. And I'm gonna bring that out. I'm gonna bring that down. You guys are gonna get to see that. So thanks everybody for being here. We had a good show tonight. It was a lot of fun chatting with you. You're quite welcome, Praxis. I do this for you guys 5 nights a week. You guys get an hour show at least. You know, at the very least, sometimes a lot longer. And I hope you appreciate it. But it was lovely having you all here. Pretty soon, and it might even be next week, we're going to have Dungeon Minister on, because I got to hear his stories about LARPing in the sewers. Okay, I just have to. Also coming up, I want to do, thank you, Tunka. I really appreciate that. I want to do a review of Stranger Things Season 4, the first part, because it's like 7 episodes, and then they're making us wait another couple weeks, and then 2 episodes are dropping. Of course, if you binged it the day it dropped back at the beginning of the month, you've been on tenterhooks for weeks. I just watched the last episode of the first part of Season 4 today. So for me, it's like, oh, I got to wait for a little bit. But I do want to talk about it. I want to talk about D&D. I want to talk about the show. I might do pre-recorded videos about that rather than live streams, probably, but then I got to edit them. So anyway, again, I had a lot of fun. It was great to see you guys. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. It's calm down. I promise. I promise. I will be here tomorrow. Y'all have a lovely one.